All right, good evening, everyone. This is Santa Rita School District's meeting on January 10th, 2024. Welcome, everyone. It is 5 p.m. I would like to call to order to go for a roll call.
Ms. Sarah Turner,
Here.
Ms. Alva Arellano,
Here.
Mr. Jacob Sandoval, Mr. Neil Patel,
Present.
Ms. Cindy Lopez is not present.
Okay, we're going to move forward with the Pledge of Allegiance. Can I, normally we ask somebody to lead it, if that's okay. Elva, would you mind starting us off and we'll follow you up, back you up?
Ready? Again.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Elva. I appreciate that. I think it's great we start meetings.
Very good.
I appreciate it. All right, we're going to move forward with approval of board agenda items. I understand we have possibility of moving an item up.
Yes, Mr. President, I request that we present item 10.1 ahead of item 6.1 this evening.
Motion to adopt the agenda as amended.
Second. Okay, have a second.
Ms. Turner,
Aye.
Ms. Arellano,
Aye.
Mr. Sandoval,
Aye.
Mr. Patel.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Motion passes 4-0.
Okay. It's always great when we have our retirees come in person and a great day of celebration of great work. So I appreciate that person for coming and looking forward to it. All right, here we go. We're going to move forward with closed session items. I understand we have 2.1 public employees employment, 2.2 potential litigation, and 2.3 conference with labor negotiators. Do we have any public comment?
No, we do not.
Okay. Having said that, can I entertain a motion to go into closed motion? Can I entertain a motion to go into closed session?
Motion to go into closed session. Second.
Ms. Turner,
Aye.
Ms. Arellano,
Aye.
Mr. Sandoval,
Aye.
Mr. Patel.
Aye, Captain.
Motion passes 4-0.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Santa Rita Union School District Board meeting. I'd like to reconvene back from closed session at 6:17. Nothing was voted on, so there's nothing to report out. We're going to move on to item 5.1, which is approval of consent agenda items 5.2 to 5.4. If I can please get a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay.
Ms. Turner,
Aye.
Ms. Ariano,
Aye.
Mr. Sandoval.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
Okay, and we had prior to the going to closed session, we discussed moving item 10.1 up. 10.1 is approval of resolution 2.4.01.01 regarding the recognition of appreciation for retiree. So I'm gonna read the resolution. Before the Board of Trustees of the Santa Rita Union School District, Resolution 24.01.01, Resolution of Appreciation. Whereas Ofelia Ortiz Urbina has served as a food assistant and new and duty assistant for 27 years. And whereas Ofelia Ortiz Urbina has served the Santa Rita Union School District faithfully since 1996 as a food service assistant and noon duty assistant. And whereas during this period of time, she has made a significant contribution to the education of children, and whereas her service to the district was exemplified by dedication, consistency, and professionalism. Whereas she has resigned from her position for retirement effective January 31st, 2024. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Board of Trustees that in an expression of gratitude to be presented to Ofelia Ortiz Urbina, that this resolution be made part of the official minutes of this body, and that a properly signed copy of this resolution be presented to Ofelia Ortiz Urbina in order that she may know of this board's appreciation of the services she has performed. Passed and adopted this 10th of January, 2024 by the Board of Trustees of the Santa Rita Union School District. Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. Turner,
Aye.
Ms. Ariano,
Aye.
Mr. Sandoval.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
Okay, so first of all, I want to say thank you for your service, not only to our district, but just to children across the county. Did you work at other districts in the Monterey County or Santa Rita? Okay. Yeah. So just want to say thank you. I went to this district, so I'm very proud to anybody who's been here for and has served it. So thank you. Yeah. Did you guys want to make some comments and then maybe we can have her?
Thank you for all of your hard work and your ability to work as a team all these years. And we hope that you have a good retirement. I'll tell you that I retired 6 years ago and I love it. So good luck to you and enjoy your retirement.
Thank you so much. And thank you for taking care of the children at their worst and at their best. We really appreciate it.
Would you like to say some words?
Want to say thank you. It was nice work.
Oh. Oh. So we're going to take a picture and we're going to present it to you.
Sure, I don't want to be in the evening. Okay.
You mind taking a picture as well? So then you can.
Happens when you start getting lunch.
Yes, they've been there for long.
What, really quick, what schools did you work out of?
I started at Gallen View,
Uh-huh.
and then I went to Santa Rita, and then beginning.
Okay. So at Santa Rita, it says you started, in what year on the resolution?
I started in 96.
96.
Activity and Gallen View.
Oh, okay.
Maybe like a month or two, I went to Santa Rita too, so I was doing both schools.
So it's okay. Great. Well, thank you.
And when they feel my kid and my kids were gonna get transferred over there, and my kids were there, so.
Oh, that's good. So,
The original mechanic.
oh, nice. You've also got the chance to see the district kind of develop as far too and grow
Yes.
as well as so.
And you know, so how many did you have all your kid or how many kids do you have? 4 and okay, good.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's exactly what happened with my grandkids too, and my kids. But I just want to let you know that I started as a classified person working, and I'll tell you, I appreciate a lot of the classified staff because it's where I started. And so I know exactly what you guys go through. I didn't work in the cafeteria, but I worked as a teacher's aide. And I'll tell you, it's been a good experience, and I totally appreciate all of you for your hard work. There you go. There you go. And actually yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
So thank you. Thank
Okay,
you, ladies.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item 6.1. Is any comments from SRTA?
No comments.
Okay, and any comments CSCA?
Same, no comments.
None.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry, Juanita's here. I was looking in the inbox. I'm so
She's
sorry.
here, she's here.
Sorry, Juanita.
Okay. Good evening, everyone, and Happy New Year. My name is Juana Casillas, the ICA President. Our 10-month classified staff returned back to school on Monday, excited and ready to embark on a new year, working with families of our Santa Rita Union School District and students as well. For 11 and 12 months classified staff who worked over the winter break, thank you for all your hard work and dedication in getting our schools ready for students and staff. CSCA met with the district earlier today for negotiations and ERC. We would like to thank Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources, Ms. Becky Moore, Debbie Campbell, and Rosa Zamudio for their time and collaboration. We will continue negotiations next month, and CSCA is looking forward continuing and working together. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Okay, moving on to Superintendent's Cabinet. Start off with Director of Additional Services, Mr. Chuck Helm.
Hi, good evening. Just a couple of quick items. I had a pre-review conference call today with our AR specialist, and we discussed the whole review process, what that's going to look like, including the paperwork that's needed, the on-site visit that will be at February 5th through the 9th, a couple MCOE sites, and then also McKinnon. We discussed the monthly review and the exit interview. It was a very good conversation, got some good tips, and looking forward to finishing this off. This past Monday, we began serving meals to the students in the Centro Binacional program. I told you. at Santa Rita. And right now I'm currently working with Leonel and Elizabeth Vasquez to make sure that the students are getting the meals while still staying in compliance with the program. There's definitely going to be some kinks that need to be worked out, but no major hurdles. I don't see anything major that we won't be able to serve the meals. And lastly, I should have said this when Ophelia was up, but thank you very much for your service while I've been here. I'm dating myself, but you started the year I graduated high school. So I haven't had as much time here working with you, but the time has been precious. I've enjoyed it thoroughly, and you will be greatly missed. I hope you'll come back and sub for us. That'll be a whole different conversation. But in all honesty, thank you so much, Ophelia. So thank you, Ophelia. We still have a few more weeks together, and looking forward to it.
Okay, Director of Engagement and School Climate, Dr. Summer Prather-Smith.
Good evening, everybody. I first want to congratulate you, Ophelia. Like I said, she's part of our original McKinnon crew. We all moved over to McKinnon and opened together through wet cement, climbing in windows because we weren't quite ready to open. And so we've had many years, and she's served my own children in this district as well. So enjoy your retirement. Just a couple of announcements. I first want to thank all of those who contributed to our coat drive prior to winter break, and to LULAC for taking one of our family shopping. Republic Services held their own jacket drive and donated to us as well. So thank you, Republic Services. That's your trash company. We are going to be launching our first Thought Exchange LCAP engagement coming next week. That's going to go out to our staff as well as to our community. It's one simple question that you start with, and you'll have information about that exchange, but it really gives you an opportunity to respond to one another and rate the comments that are there so that we can get some feedback about our current LCAP as we form our new LCAP. We are going to be starting a folklorico group at Santa Rita in our ACES program. So that's set to start next week, it looks like, with Alisal Center for the Fine Arts. We'll be targeting our 4th and 5th graders. And so they'll have folklorico on Monday and Tuesdays from 3:30 to 5. I think it's Monday and Tuesday, or Tuesday and Wednesday. I can't remember. From 3:30 to 5 within the ACES program. So we're excited to launch that and hold a showcase at the end of the year here. Centro Binacional did start their after school program. They'll be here next week at our next board meeting to present to you as well. But that after school program started today. Their team did recruitment throughout winter break. We were able to help facilitate the facilities for them to be able to start that recruitment. So we're really excited that that program is up and running, started this week on Monday. And then that is it for me. I have some reports later on. Thank you.
Any questions or comments from the board? Okay. Yeah, looking forward to presentation. Thank you. Director, Assistant Superintendent of Human Resource, Ms. Becky Moore.
Thank you. The only thing that I would like to share this evening is that our iReady site PD days will be taking place next week and the following week. Each school site has one full day reserved with an iReady representative to meet with teachers in small groups by grade level, department, or during their prep time to provide some professional development now that we have finished our second diagnostic test of the year. Thank you.
And I just randomly remembered the certificate. We still need one board member to sign it. So make sure that you leave it with us. I was like, Cindy. Yeah, Cindy needs to still sign it. Yeah. She's the other board member. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Moving on to the board and the superintendent. Ms. Sarah Turner.
Thank you. It's been a month since we were together. I just, feel like I lost knowing how to do this. I did have a request that I wanted to make of the superintendent. If you can talk to the city about if they're going to work on the Baranda expansion, and if when. We just haven't heard recently from them. I have been meeting with Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Janine Gus, and some other members of the Monterey County School Boards Association. So I'm going to be involved in the January 22nd school board training. So that was very exciting to be asked. And then on a personal level, I also volunteer as an interviewer for Stanford University. So I did have some of the kids that, Salinas kids that I interviewed be accepted into early decision. So that was really exciting. And then regular decision started today. So that'll be the next thing. And I always enjoy getting to talk to the high school kids, and I love how inspired they are. And I also have the hope that part of, as I'm listening to them talk about their college dreams, that they'll include in that dream is coming back to Salinas and being part of our community. And I'm grateful every day that I made that choice. So thank you.
Ms. Alvariano?
I have nothing to report this time. I haven't done anything for a whole month. But I do want to say Happy New Year to everybody. And I hope it's a good year. It seems like it. So that's it.
Thank you. Yes, and happy year, and it will be. It will be. For myself, the only thing to report was I met with the superintendent and also Rosa Zamudi regarding the budget. So we're going to be having a workshop with the board to talk about how funds are allocated for each school site. So looking forward to that discussion. Also looking at test scores as well. Thank you. Dr. Melissa Alterman.
Well, we've had a busy couple days back, and I can tell you that some of our winter projects are complete or nearly complete. We had some rain delays with one of our shade structures, but that should be done in the next couple of days. I got a report back from a teacher. I sent out a welcome back email, and she was saying that the shade structure at her school was a great addition, and she appreciated that. And our gutter repairs at our 3 sites that had those going on, those did get complete, which ironically, with the rain that we did have over the break, that was good. And then we'll move our other projects forward as we go, but wanted to give Victor's team some kudos for helping get all of that arranged and organized and being here while that work was happening with the people who are working at our school sites over the break. And other than that, we've just kind of got our nose to the grind now for the spring. All the things are coming out about getting ready for state testing, and all of that. And that's really important. And we've got a lot of work that happens on the day-to-day here that's also equally important. And so just sort of keeping everything in perspective and working with our teams, that's where we're at.
Thank you. I did see, I think it was John Gutierrez who did have a social media post, which I thought was really great. I know we discussed about. I know me and Sarah had discussed as far as projects get developed. I know we're going to have little grand openings, but also on social media. So I know I was just brainstorming right now the John Gutierrez video. Sarah had mentioned like, your measured dollars at work, so I think it's important as even if it's the gutters or whatever the case is, it's like little video or pictures. Yeah, just share. Yeah.
So I'll just share a couple of things. We did meet with Ms. Jessica Hall in KSBW today around our social media posts. And so she's going to be doing those as well, making sure that those are uniform, equal, being put out. KSBW will be here on the 25th to start filming our new ads, which will include a lot of those facilities placed, and that will be part of that ad that's running. They're going to be coming to our February meeting as well to give us I just met with them and they went through the data on interactions with all of those different parts that they're doing. And our interactions are very, very high.
Okay.
And so they'll be presenting on that as well. But we have a full media campaign with her around your dollars at work, around
Perfect. Okay.
coming to, so it's around our facilities and the funding that's being used. It's around student recruitment, especially as we move into TK and kinder registration. We had a ton of parents come in today to do interdistrict transfers, and I was wondering if they did a blast ad after we met yesterday. So I was like, was it that? I didn't ask them, but we had probably 15 parents come in today to do interdistrict. So all of that is definitely part of that, and you'll be seeing more and more of that in the next couple of weeks.
Okay, and then I would just ask, obviously, our board members, anybody else, just to share it, and that we can show the community, hey, this is what you guys are paying for, important stuff. Yeah.
And I know that he's not here tonight, but I
Thank you.
mentioned, thank you so
Bye.
much, guys.
Enjoy your evening.
At the last morning board meeting, the next time that Victor was here to talk about what was going on at the Santa Rita restrooms, because I know it was created and then it was trying to make sure that it worked correctly.
Do you want me to go ahead and share that with you? I know.
It can wait. But
Okay.
Sure, you can share. No, I'm curious.
Well, we initially had some issues, and I'll just be honest, it's a new restroom, and sometimes students put things down toilets that they shouldn't. And so we'd actually had to have some pumping done to clear the lines. And what the school did is they locked the student restrooms. Staff have their key access to their restrooms. So, and working with Donna Koenig so that they can go do some classroom visits about restroom etiquette, not just in the new restroom, but all their restrooms. And so that they can have access to those restrooms again out there with appropriate behavior.
Just in regard to that, I know that there was something brought forth at the facilities committee about potentially replacing paper towel dispensers with hand dryers.
Yes, those have been
so-
ordered as well.
Great, thank you. Any other comments or questions from the board? Okay. All right, moving on to item 7.1. Is there any public comment regarding non-agenda items? Any public comment regarding agenda items?
There is no public comment.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And then we did that one already. 10.2, approval of a new job description for coordinator of expanded learning.
Thank you. So we do have some funding that has been extended for expanded learning. And so in order to offer programming for that, we are looking to add a coordinator position at the district-wide level to facilitate that, paid completely out of that grant. And so this job description would address that for us.
I did read through all this, but I wasn't clear in terms of assuming that we pass this tonight, are we planning to advertise this immediately? Okay. Thank you for that clarification.
Yes.
Oh, motion to approve. Oh,
Yes, in regards to 10.2, I motion to approve the new job description for coordinator of expanded learning.
Second.
okay. Roll call. please.
Ms. Turner,
Aye.
Ms. Ariano,
Aye.
Mr. Sandoval.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
Okay, and then the next one is in correlation to that. 10.3, approval of a new one full-time employee for the coordinator of expanded learning.
Thank you. And related to that job description is a position for that. The dollar amount listed is the estimated amount that would be paid for the remainder of this fiscal year, this school year. And then the position would continue as part of the ELOP plan for the time that we have that grant.
Okay, do we have a timeline on that? And
The information we have received from the county is an anticipation that it will be ongoing.
Today as well.
Is it in the
Yeah,
governor's
so in the
report?
governor's report, he did continue that.
that
funding.
that was my understanding, that this is the way that the state is going.
Yeah, and I watched the AXA brief after the conversation just to make sure, and they said, yes, it was fully funded.
Okay, thank you. Motion to approve 10.3, and just to clarify, I'm super excited about this. I absolutely think it's the right way to go in terms of offering more services that are needed to students.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Ms. Turner,
Aye.
Ms. Ariano,
Aye.
Mr. Sandoval.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
Okay, moving on to item 12.1, anti-bias education grants.
This is just an informational item to let you know that we did receive the max allocation, $200,000 on the anti-bias grant. I was really excited to receive that. We're swiping in the grants this year. This grant is really specifically working with Centro Binacional and building healthy communities around bringing anti-bias education to our schools for our staff and providing access and support for our students as well. Building healthy communities right now is on their kind of winter holiday, so everybody's set to be back next week. So I'll be meeting with that team and kind of putting together what that will look like. Part of what we have in that grant, and I included that in there, are some clubs and activities for students, as well as support for our staff in terms of training, as well as ongoing support throughout those school days. So I'm excited that we have that grant. That's over a 3-year period of time, the $200,000.
And I know this is just an informational item, but I am incredibly grateful to all of our staff for all of these opportunities that you're pursuing for the students. I'm grateful on a daily basis of the staff that we have that go above and beyond in all these different capacities.
Thank you for the update. Okay, moving on to 14.1. It's discussion regarding the MCSB.
We've got 13.1.
Skipped all my big ones.
Oh, yeah, I'm so sorry. I think I pulled the wrong. I know, and those are the big ones. 13.1, it's the LCAP mid-year report, and it's an informational item as well.
All right.
Make sure I do.
Well, I'm going to present from here since we're small. Yep. Perfect. So by ed code, we're required to present to you, the board, a mid-year report before February 28th of each year. Given kind of we have a lot coming up in February, and this meeting was light, we decided this would be a great time to do it. And I'm able to give you the most up-to-date information. So just to keep in mind, this is the end of our cycle in the 3-year LCAP cycle. So we're ending, the next couple months are going to be an interesting time because we're ending one 3-year cycle as we start to build our new LCAP for 24 to 27. So this is our mid-year report on our current LCAP. Just a reminder that the LCAP is based around the 8 state priorities. I'm not going to read them to you, but you can see them there. And as we form our LCAP, we're really looking to make sure that we're meeting each of those areas as well. So as we start to look at the metrics tonight, you're going to see them correlated to these 8 priority areas as well. Just a little map of kind of what that process looks like. So that original LCAP in 2017 going to 2020, and then we have our current LCAP that's going into this 2024 school year. It's really important to note as well that our SPSAs, or our single plan for student achievement, that those need to be correlated to what we're doing in our LCAP, right? So we want both of those plans working simultaneously together to make sure they're meeting the needs of our students. So as we finalize this year, we're also looking at those SIPSAs to say, are we in line as well in our progress there? And then we start to look at the next year's SIPSAs and make sure that we're correlating that with our upcoming LCAP plan. Just a few of the engagement opportunities that we've had with families around the LCAP. So we've met and gone through the LCAP with our DLAC team, different aspects of it. That's what those posters are in the back that you'll see over here. We conducted our English learner needs assessment, which helped fill in some of those areas to make sure that we're meeting the goals that are set forth in our LCAP, and also to give us data as we move forward. We've had our LCAP engagement meetings this year, our People Bench resiliency survey, discussions in our curriculum council, our district safety committees, our healthy kids surveys, which I'll be presenting to you in an upcoming meeting. We have the results of those current surveys. And then our thought exchange, which is going to launch in January, will help feed our LCAP as well as we move into the second half of the year. Because this presentation is for you as a board, but it's also for our community, and it'll be posted on our website as well. I'm just finishing the Spanish translation. There's a lot to translate. We wanted to make sure that it was accessible for our families. And so these are the metrics as we move forward. So if we look at each of these metrics, we're really thinking about what's unknown, meaning we don't know yet if we're going to have met that. We have time still to go. Either we haven't conducted the assessment or we haven't received the data. So it's an ongoing. So the results at the mid-year are not known yet. The center, that kind of small growing plant there, is in progress, meaning we've met aspects of it, but we're continuing to work on that through the end of the year. And then a completed metrics is something that we've met the complete guise of what was stated within that goal and that metrics. So those are just a quick reference. You'll see them in that presentation as well. So a little bit of those areas that are yet to be known. So we don't yet have our LPAC summative data, right? Students are going to start testing. We won't have that information in time for this report. We won't even have it probably in time for our end of the year report. Our 23-24 CASP scores, we have those now, but we still have to dissect all of those pieces in detail, which is part of what we're doing. Dissecting all of those pieces to pull out aspects of it. We have our overall dashboard, and then we still don't have our next year's data as well from that, because students will test this year, which will be based on the work that we've done, and we won't get that until the following year. Our 23-24 school climate data, same thing. We haven't finished that. That school year isn't over, so we don't have that summative attendance or suspension data. We have what's happening at mid-year, but not what we'll end the year with. And then you can see in progress that beginning of the year to end of the year growth data, the percent of students meeting grade level expectations, our overall attendance, staff wellness, community engagement, and facilities plans. Those are ongoing. And then we've completed our LPAC initial assessment. We have our 22-23 dashboard data that we use to build, and we've dissected and looked at all the aspects of. We have our 23 audit, Williams audit. We have our teacher credentialing assignments are complete. We have our California Healthy Kids survey, and we have our EL needs assessment as well. And please feel free to stop me along the way. So this is our, we have 4 goals altogether in our LCAP, and this is our first goal. And this goal really focuses around providing high quality instruction and effective leadership within our schools. These are each of the metrics within that. There are a lot. So one of the areas that we've discussed in each of these as we move into our next 3-year LCAP is that we're going to really focus in and make sure that our metrics are meaningful. So less is more, right? So 4 to 5 metrics at the most so that we can make sure that we're really collecting data in a meaningful way. So in this metrics, we're looking at credentialing. We're looking at documentation of year 1 and year 2 induction programs for our staff. You can see that we've met that first outcome or that first metric, and we've met that, or the second one is in progress still. So it's in progress because they won't have completed it until the end of this school year, but that the progress is where they should be at this mid-year report. We completed our Williams review and had no findings. Congratulations to those sites that were there. So that outcome has been met. We've started our formative district classroom walkthroughs as well. So you'll see that that's in progress. We'll continue that work through the end of the year, providing feedback to our site leaders as well as the teachers and the staff, and then continue to go back and through the end of this school year within that metrics itself. Our next one is around professional development. And the goal was that 90%, the original goal was that 90% of our teachers would participate in professional development. That was that year 1 baseline goal. In this coming year, the desired outcome was that 100% of our teachers participate in professional development. The reality is 100% is hard, right? Like that's a challenge. So to date, we had about 95% of our staff participate in 3 out of those 4 professional development that we've offered, which is still a really meaningful number. So that's still in progress. Our goal will be to increase that number from that 95%.
Also keeping in mind though, that if someone is on a leave, like a maternity leave, a medical leave, they're not going to be able to participate. So 100% is maybe overly ambitious.
Yeah.
Really quick, so there's been 3 PD days so far.
Correct.
During that time, so far we've had 95.
Yeah.
So pretty much that 5% could participate within the next.
Yeah. So they would be in there. I mean, yeah, like Becky shared, it's really hard. 100% is a really hard metric because people get sick. There's lots of reasons as well. The next metric was around teachers delivering daily designated and integrated ELD, which is required by law. What you have linked there is that observation sheet that we're using as we do those classroom walkthroughs to kind of note what we're seeing. And the desired outcome was that 100% of our teachers are going to be doing that. It is a regulation, so 100% of our teachers should be providing designated and integrated ELD. What we found at the mid-year point is that there's evidence of daily designated ELD periods and integrated ELD within those core areas in most of our classrooms. Now, again, we're not in classrooms all day, every day. So, it's hard to say that when we were in there, it maybe happened at a different period of time. But when we're reporting on these metrics, we really want to make sure that we're reporting on what we see and what's evident. So that area is still in progress as we'll continue to do those learning walks to collect that evidence. More metrics on goal 1. I'm telling you, there's a lot of them. We're going to narrow those down next time. The next area was really around students participating in the iReady benchmark. And again, you'll see a baseline goal there of 100%, all students completing that. really hard to do. Kids get sick, people are out. There's lots of reasons that 100% of our students may not complete some of these assessments. At iReady Benchmark 1, we were at an 85% completion rate. And for iReady Benchmark 2, we were at 95%. So our goal will be that, that increases, but it's positive that we went from that 85. Now, it's important to note that that first benchmark, kinder students don't take it. So when we're saying 100%, it's saying all students, but in reality, we're excluding kindergartners. So there's no way to meet that 100%. So there's some challenges within the metrics that we need to work on. And then 100% of our students did complete that initial LPAC testing.
And
as
the
well.
metrics is set by us as a district or?
Correct.
Okay, so that would have to get adjusted.
So in our new one, we're really, and I'll talk a little bit about it about our LCAP formation team. Our next metrics is around each of our sites having representation on Curriculum Council. And I'm happy to report that all sites have representation, either through a teacher, an administrator, a staff member, a parent are present on that council. That goal or that metrics continues to be in progress because, again, we're not done with Curriculum Council for this year. More. So our next metric is around all students having access to music and physical education. The challenge with this metric is all means all, right? And what we know is that at the middle school level, music is an elective period. All students don't have it. Really, this metric would be rewritten to say all elementary students will have it because it's really the justification for adding the music teachers to our elementary program. So when we look at just elementary, it's met. All elementary students have access to PE and music through our music and PE teachers. And then for middle school, all middle school students have access to PE as a required component of their instruction and to music as an elective at both sites. Our next metric is looking at our schools being in good repair on our Williams compliance. And as I shared, we met that with 100%. And then 100% of our staff participating in our active crisis response training. And we do have 100% of staff who have completed that through our online or in-person modules as well. So that metrics is also met. I want to say objective, sorry. Okay, so then the money part of goal number 1. So in this action, providing all students with access to fully credentialed teachers, instructional materials that align with state standards, which is the action associated with the metrics. So there's a goal, there's actions, and then there's metrics, right? So with this action, we budgeted $692,668. We've only expended $79,990 to date. And what we kind of want to see us is at that halfway point. However, please note that at the point of this presentation, we haven't yet moved. We're moving $125,000 out of that goal to support the Centro contract that we have. It just needs to move around. So I didn't want to take it out of there because we haven't done it yet, but that'll be going there to cover. The other part to keep in mind with this action is that the 30 hours of professional development, optional PD for our teachers is included in here. They have through the end of the year to do that, to complete that. So you'll see on here that $285,000 are budgeted for that PD. So it hasn't all been expended yet, but we need to keep that funding there so that teachers have that option. So we encourage our teachers to utilize that 30 hours of professional development as well. And then the other part that's on here that you're going to see, which accounts for us not being at that halfway point, is that we extended our COVID leave, 5 days of COVID leave for our staff. And so that's budgeted within this, but not all staff have used that 5 days, thank goodness, of COVID time. So you'll just kind of see there the breakdown of what was covered with the expenditures that were staffing and what was non-staffing as well. In action number 2, this is around ensuring access to curriculum, instruction, and technology. We budgeted $1,605,000. We've expended $628,000. So we're close to right at the middle. So it looks like we're doing a great job of being on track there. This area really covers our library media techs that we have at all of our sites. It covers our director of technology, Krisha Kurpul, our tech supervisors, our computer technicians who are here as well as some hourly pay for teachers around technology and curriculum and instruction. And then in our non-staffing, it covers a lot of our curriculum, which we updated a lot of our curriculum this year as well. And I'll pause at the end of goal 1 for some questions. Next is providing a safe and appropriate learning environment for our students. We budgeted a little over $2 million in this area, and we've expended $647,000 of that. Much of that is it's not encumbered. Salaries aren't encumbered, but it's holding for those salaries. So the amount that's there is only the amount we've expended, not what's encumbered. So not what we have on hold. So the parts that are missing out of that are the rest of the salary for our assistant principals comes out of this area as well, our district social worker and our yard supervisors who are providing additional supervision. And then looking at safety support materials, we purchased clear backpacks. So any student who brings an item that's not allowed at school is offered a clear backpack as an alternative to no backpack at all if they're bringing materials that are not safe to have at school. Our radios, our cameras, our work with Kimball and Associates around our safety drills, as well as some of our updated classroom furniture so that it's appropriate for the students we're serving at Santa Rita. Our next action is around meeting the individual needs of our students through class size reduction. Remember that in our LCAP, we noted that we were going to keep our TK through 3rd grade at 24:1, which is lower than the required ratio. And so you can see there what our current ratios are as a district. So in TK, our average is 19 students. In kinder, 19 as well. In 1st grade, 20. 0.3, we won't worry about that. In 2nd grade, 22, and in 3rd grade, 22. So I'm happy to report that we are meeting that goal within the LCAP. In 4th and 5th grade, we're looking at a ratio of 26:1, and we're averaging in 4th grade 23:1, and in 5th grade 22:1.
What was it, 26? Which one?
4th and 5th.
Okay.
4th and
Oh, I
5th
see, I
grade.
see.
Yeah, 4th and 5th grade. So 23:1 and 22:1. And then in 6th through 8th grade, the goal as well is 26:1, which is a great number. If you look at our neighboring districts, that's, so this is our current average district-wide. In 6th grade, we're averaging 23:1, in 7th grade, 25:1, and in 8th grade, 25:1. So nice class sizes at that middle school level. And then we didn't expend any funds in non-staffing. So all the funds that have been expended in this action have been around staff.
I was going to say that's a good point for parents. Smaller
Yes.
class size.
Yeah.
To the districts.
So before we move to goal 2, I'll just pause for a second and see if there's any questions.
I just had a question about the optional 30 hours. Can teachers use that in the summer? Have they been using it, or is that money sitting around?
Yeah, so teachers have been using it. Let me go back real quick. I put it in
Nope, you went too far.
no, I put it in one of these that has it. I think it was on there. No,
It's later.
oh, maybe it's later. Okay, one of them has it
Right
on there.
Stop there.
No, I had a slide. There's one of the slides that'll tell you how many. Oh, it is on there.
Yeah.
120 budgeted for 30 hours. No, but that's not the total number. We did the total number of teachers who have utilized it.
That was in our last
Oh,
presentation.
sorry. See, they all blend together. So yes, the teachers have been using it. It's slower. It tends to be during winter. I did a lot of approvals during the winter break for teachers, which would not be accounted for here. Some in the summer. I wouldn't say there's as much in the summer. It's usually done kind of this second half of the year, winter to the second half of the year.
Thank you.
But they are utilizing it. Yes. Oh, it is there at the bottom. No, that's COVID leave. Still not there. Sorry. Okay. So goal 2. All students will achieve academic proficiency. So this is really our academic focus area in goal 2. It's where you're going to really start to see the rigor of our academics. It's looking at our intervention, our instruction, as well as those social emotional supports that we have in place for students. So the first metrics is really around students having access to supplemental materials, and we've met this goal. All of our teachers have been trained, have the core curriculum as well as the intervention materials related to it, and we've had 57 teachers who have been trained in the science of reading as well through the county office. We're the district who's had, I think last time I talked to them, the most teachers who have gone through that training as well. And then we've also trained our middle school science teachers in Positive Prevention Plus, which is the required health curriculum. Our next goal is participating in professional learning communities focused around student data. And the metrics for this is through our walkthroughs, our classroom walkthroughs by us as the district, as well as our site administrators. And what we know is that all of our staff have been trained in PLC Plus. That's how we started our year as well this year in that training. And that there's designated times for them to have that meeting. Right now, there's some evidence of a focus on student data, but it's definitely an area that we're going to continue to grow and focus on as well. So that goal or that metric is in progress. Next is looking at PD participation, PLCs. It's looking at our intervention programs to make sure that we're addressing the needs of those students. And so we have implemented our district-wide Saturday Academy. Reminder again to families, we do have Saturday Academy this Saturday. They're probably tired of my messages, but we do have it. As well as our ongoing extended learning opportunities as well. Currently, we have those extended learning opportunities offered at McKinnon, JGMS, GVMS, and then we have our Mixteco after school program. That doesn't include ACEs. This goal doesn't, ACEs is a separate grant as well. Then we also have academic intervention that's being provided by our academic coaches, as well as our reading and math interventions at the middle school level. At each of those middle schools. So that continues to be in progress. We have growth to make around our intervention, and it's a focus area for us as well in the second half of the year. Our next metrics focuses on making growth annually on that iReady benchmark. And you'll see that the baseline originally when the LCAP was formed was that there would be an average of 12.1% in ELA. If you look at our mid-year update, you'll see that from fall 2023 to winter 2023, elementary students made an average of 9% growth overall. So not quite the 12, but in a good spot for that reading area, and 14% proficient to 23% proficient. Middle school students made an average growth of 2% overall in reading, and elementary students made 7% growth in math, and middle school students made an average of 5% growth in math. So we didn't quite meet that initial baseline number, but we'll continue. We have the second half of the year to continue that work. The next area focuses in on demonstrating growth in ELA and math, and the metrics that were established for that are the state assessment results. So we're looking at the previous year's assessment scores. And what we know is that on the 23 dashboard, we did decline 3.2 points in ELA and 1.8 points in math overall. It indicates that a majority of our students didn't meet that 1 year of growth that was noted for this metrics on there across all the grade levels. And so when I said in the beginning that this is one of those areas that's ongoing and in progress, that we don't have all the data, is that the next part of our work is to really dive in and look at those individual students and really collect that data so that we can form those interventions in the second half of the year. As you know, the dashboard data and the CAS data just recently got released to us in that full form. So that's part of our work in the second half. And then just restating, the district will make annual growth on ELA and math. That was the desired outcome. And the metrics was looking at the dashboard, and it showed that we declined 1.8 points in math. So in progress, we're going to keep working on that. The next area is around our LPAC results and our EL classification rates. The desired outcome was that EL students would become English proficient. Currently, 24.3% of our students are designated as RFEP, so they've redesignated. 20.5% of our students did decrease on one level on their LPAC, but 40.4% of our students increased one level on LPAC. So that's what we want to see, is that upward mobility of our students. And the next metric is really looking around the dashboard indicators, demonstrating district suspension rates decreased. And again, this is looking at last year's suspension rates. We know that last year was a challenging year with suspensions and expulsions. I'm proud to report that we're making progress now. So the dashboard did show, it wasn't significant, but a 0.5% increase in suspension rates from the previous year. And our current suspension rate is 3.6. That's where we were at as well on there. And then we're happy to report that we have zero, or we were 3.6 last year. We're at 3.4 this year. And last year we had the expulsions, and this year we have 0 expulsions to date. So we're anticipating that next year's dashboard around this area is going to look a lot better. Here's the money part of goal 2. So intervention in English language development is the action. We budgeted 385,000. We budgeted a little over $1 million. We've expended around 385,000. Again, a big part of this is in salaries for our EL specialists, our instructional paras who are providing intervention, and then some of our printed materials. So the majority of these funds are being used for staffing across our district. And then appropriate differentiation of instruction based on our students' need is the action. We budgeted 961,000. We've expended about 570,000, so a little more than half. 325,000 of that are TOSAs, our academic coaches that are helping at our sites, supporting our sites and our learners. And then non-staffing has been student materials, accelerated reader, iReady, ESGI as well to support our English learner students. The next action focuses on broad and engaging learning experiences. We budgeted around 1,361,000. We've expended about 575. So again, right on track. The majority of that funding as well is for staffing. So it makes me happy to hear that a lot of our funds are being used for people. And those are for our music teachers, our PE teachers at the elementary level, as well as our art teachers at the middle school. And non-staffing has been some of the equipment to support in those areas. The next action focuses on providing additional technology based learning for students. We budgeted 152,000 and we've expended around 95,000. And this is really around, there is no staffing associated with this action. This is providing our technology applications that our students are using to learn. And I'll pause for some questions around goal 2.
Can you see the chart really again that showed about the English language learners again?
That
one there.
This one?
Yeah. So the first baseline, they said 46.7 students make progress towards English proficiency.
Correct.
So does that mean like they move up a level? Is
Correct.
that kind of what that's kind of mentioning? Yeah.
Right.
And then on the next one, as far as the update so far, it said 24 students
Have been redesignated. So you're looking at that 40.4% is what would correlate to that other percentage.
Sure,
over
because
there.
redesignated is a couple steps, or it could be a
Correct.
couple steps.
For sure.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah,
versus
definitely.
The 40 is just that one step. with
Making
the
progress.
baseline.
So redesignated is looking at both their English progress and their academic progress.
Correct. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So the 40. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
I have the same question.
Yeah.
You answered it, but another question that I had on this is what tool is used? I don't even know whether that's the appropriate word, but what tool is used to redesignate the kids, the children?
We can read it.
That's okay.
Um,
I can.
Which person's going to answer which
know.
curriculum instruction question?
I'll take a break.
Right now, so for redesignation, we've got you have your LPAC score. And the state gives out, they need to make the 3s and 4s in the different areas, they can't make lower than a certain, and so they set that for us, as well as their academic progress and their grading, like report cards and things like that, and correlating and triangulating your data is what the state wants us to do. So using the iReady benchmark and making sure they're making progress. And now the state has students on monitoring status for 4 years after being RFEP'd. So you would go back and you would keep a regular check. So like our EL specialists at the middle school, our academic coaches at elementary, keeping the monitoring forms going, right? And checking in with students, teachers, making sure that they're continuing to make progress and that they're not falling behind in a suspected period where it may be their language acquisition that is influencing their lack of progress after RFEP. If that happens, you can reevaluate students to bring back into the program. So
there's no particular test. Long time ago, we used to use a solemn.
this has to be the LPAC test
Okay.
is the main state assessment for it now. It went from being that to being the then it was the CELT and now the LPAC is.
Oh,
Yeah.
And a follow-up question on the last for the mid-year update, it mentions the the dashboard indicators for 2023 show a decline of 7.3 English. How was that determined? Because the first number 24.3 went down, but then 42
So
went
it's
up.
two different measures. So one is the LPAC assessment and one is the ELA math, the dashboard data. So remember in the dashboard, they're looking at English language learners as their own category. So it's two separate sets of data. So one is the dashboard and one is the LPAC data.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So the top portion mentions as far as their proficiency, but when it comes down to the bottom one, it has to do with testing, a different type of testing. That's what.
It's a different test.
Different test.
Yeah, it's two different tests.
Okay.
Yeah,
that
so they're
kind of-
getting English language learners get tested more than we always talk about foster kiddos are always super vaccinated because they get vaccinated over and over. English language learners get assessed over and over. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's because I guess in one assessment there's an increase, in other one there's
Right,
a decrease.
right. And it depends on the test itself, right?
Yeah.
And the day of the student, like what kind of day they were having. It's a really hard measure. That's why it's really important for me when I talk about we don't have that information yet. You really have to drill in, because if you just look at the superficial, like the top result or the surface information, it doesn't give you a full picture.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of.
Yeah, for sure.
nervous on.
Sarah?
Well, this comment was going to be at the end, but now I'm going to put it first because
Great.
it goes off of what you were saying. My also feeling, just for, Jacob and Alva, I feel like they're changing the state test so much from year to year that we
It
have
can't be
no
better.
good apples to apples in
Correct.
terms of, you could have had a child who made huge growth from 3rd to 4th grade, and you're looking at a significantly worse score in 4th grade than they had in 3rd grade because they just don't have something year over year right now
Yeah.
that looks
The same.
the same.
Yeah.
So I have a lot more faith in our internal data that has some relationship
Yeah.
to one another. So that was my comment that I was
Yeah.
going to put at the end. So now my questions, my first question, and I know we're looking at the past, but just going forward to the future, do we have a plan right now for integrating the new art money that was passed by proposition into what we're doing with the LCAP or change,
Yeah.
I have questions about that.
Yeah. So part of what, and I'll say what I was going to say at the end too. So part of what we're doing is I have a series of 6 LCAP engagement meetings scheduled with a variety of stakeholders, including ROSA, including our principals, and looking at our TOSAs, all parents as well, to look at kind of all of those pots of money, to look at the goals and actions that we have here to determine what we're keeping. Again, I wasn't the creator of this document. So some of the questions, if I'm there, it's because I had to study it myself to figure out some of the pieces. But I know that we really want to revamp a lot of what we're doing. We want to focus in, we want to make sure that we're using those supplemental grants for their purpose and focusing our LCAP funds around the other areas as well. So that's part of that series of LCAP engagement meetings. And then Michelle Ramirez from the County Office of Ed is also going to come over and help facilitate that conversation.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And then my last question in regards to intervention at the middle school, in terms of the 7-period day, do we have students that need intervention in both English language arts and math that are taking both intervention periods, or do we have people still doing electives? What's happening
Yeah.
with those kiddos?
So I think that's a challenging question because it depends on the kiddo and the schedule. So, again, the goal is to give students an elective. So you could have a kiddo who needs an ELD period, who needs a math
I would agree with
intervention,
giving
and
the
who
kid an
needs
elective. I'm
yeah.
right there with you.
Yeah, and who needs that. And so we really we know that, sitting in 7 periods when you're a struggling learner all day and you're working your hardest is not that effective. So I think it's really, as they're creating that master schedule, they're really taking those kiddos student by student to make the determination, and then routing them. The goal would be to route them towards some of the other opportunities. So rather that's after school tutorial where they can support them with the homework from that math class or the study skills, or maybe it's Saturday Academy that they're going, so that we're giving them some time in that school day for some downtime, but still giving them those supports and interventions. And that'll be part of our mapping as we map out the new LCAP as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I
You're
appreciate that.
Any other questions? No?
I was gonna say it's interesting because I know there was an old school of thought before it'd be like you drill them.
Yeah, no, it's not effective. Yeah,
Not doing it in school and you're gonna let them do this other thing.
right,
It's like,
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they've really figured out that more time with English and math, there is data to support that that's helpful in elementary.
Yeah.
that it's not helpful in middle school and it's actually has negative impact
Counterintuitive
in high school, that they
Yeah.
get worse results if they're just drilled all day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting how that kind of has
Change. It's
evolved
the
and changed.
pendulum of education. It's all right. So let's look at goal 3. So goal 3 is around parent engagement. This is the goal that brought me into the district as well. And so we have several metrics, but not as many. So, and you'll see that there's less funding here. That's not because parent engagement is less important to us. It's because it costs less. It just in reality. So the first area that you'll see is that we're offering parent workshops and classes at our sites, and all sites are providing parent engagement opportunities, back to school nights, presentations on Title I. We have ELAC, school site council, family nights. We have our our English classes for our parents as well. Centro meets once a week on Thursday. So we have lots of opportunities for our families to engage as well, but that's in progress. We're already always growing that as well. We have our community resource fair coming up on April 20th. Lots of opportunities as we go into the second half. The second metrics here is that all sites have a parent resource center established. Same thing. There's a little bit of a flaw in the metrics. We don't have facility space at all of our sites at this time to provide a family resource center. At all of them, that is an ongoing objective, but we do have 3 resource centers working at JGMS, Santa Rita, and at McKinnon with staffing those at all times. Let me go back real quick. The reason it is unknown is that at this point, I don't see how we're going to get family resource centers at all of our sites by the end of the year. So the goal would be in the new LCAP, it would happen.
It's not reasonable either with the close
Proximity.
graphic
Yeah.
area.
The next metrics really looks around a high participation for district-wide parent meetings. And I'm gonna put my family engagement consultant hat on just a little bit with this. One of the challenges that we have around family engagement, similar to what Sarah shared with the idea of, comparing test to test is hard when it's not the same test. Family engagement is not about a sign-in sheet. So you can have 100 parents show up to something, 100 parents sign it. That's involvement. That is not engagement. And the way that I work when I work with other districts around parent engagement, part of the analogy that I use for them is my own child. So your daughter comes to you and she says she's involved with Jacob, right? She's like, I'm involved with him. You're like, oh, great. Jacob's a great guy. That's great. You don't think much about it. She comes back 2 weeks later and she says, Jacob and I are engaged. That ups the ante on it. Engagement is a much higher requirement. And we don't want our parents just involved. We don't want them to just show up. We want them to show up and do something with what we've taught them. Involvement doesn't mean they've done anything. It just means they've showed up and they've signed in. So one of the things you won't see in our upcoming LCAP is metrics around sign-in sheets. They're meaningless. It doesn't give us information about what's happened with what our families have learned. So here it's about 100 parents showing up or X number of parents showing up. We've averaged around 45 parents at a lot of our engagement activities. And for me, what's important about that is I can track those 45 parents and I can see how they've implemented what they've learned. And to me, that's much more important. I'll put back on my regular.
Sorry, really quick on that.
Yeah.
So how would you track it in the future as far as engagement?
So you have a goal associated with it. So let's talk about a family math night. So you can have a family math night. Parents show up, they sign in. That just shows that they got there. What you want to say is that we're going to focus on this skill for 3rd graders in math, and we're going to track it by 3rd graders increasing their skill in that area because parents have learned how to support them at home, right? So they're taking that skill and they're implemented. Everything that we do with parents should connect back to student learning. That should be our metrics because that's what we're measured against. So it's not about the parent signing in or the parent learning a skill. It's the parent learning that skill to apply it to student learning. So we should see that growth in student learning.
So the way you would track it then is through the student learning.
Through the student learning. So we would say we're going to have these parent engagements, activities around math, and the connection, the metrics would be student progress in math. Mm-hmm. The next area is 100% of parents will complete surveys. We had 248 parents complete our California Healthy Kids Survey, which is a really good number because remember, even though our district is over 3,000 parents, many of our parents have multiple students and they only fill it out once. So 248 parents completed that Healthy Kids Survey, and we had 218 parents complete our English Language Learner Needs Assessment, which is a really big number. But we continue to do this work, so it's in progress. Our next metrics focuses on demonstrating positive growth annually in attendance rate for our foster and migrant students, as well as our McKinney-Vento, our students experiencing homelessness. Our 22-23 attendance rate was 81.8%, and you can see those numbers to date across our districts year to date are well over 90% attendance rate. So great progress around attendance. The next area is that there'll be regular school-based community events, one per site annually. And there's the biweekly meetings happening at Centro Binacional. We have the council meetings. We're inviting in council members, or council members are coming in to present to our community. We have the Center for Community Advocacy providing those at our different sites, as well as our upcoming resource fair, April 20th. So here's the money piece of that. So parent involvement and engagement is goal or action number 1. We budgeted $326,000. We've spent, I'm really good at spending money. You guys already know that. So I've spent more than half of the funds that are there. Those funds are going towards our community liaison, as well as half of our interpreter translator. And then some staffing around our KSBW contract to get information out to our families, our Zoom so that we can interact with families in a way that fits their needs, our van, thank you, I love it very much. I'll tell you a funny story about a student today, and then our community resource fair as well. And then site-based parent engagement or involvement. I hate parent involvement. I'll say engagement. 21,000, or we budgeted 33,000. We've spent about 21,000. The majority of that being around our Aries Parent Square, fast translation, and parent programs and materials. And then lastly on this one, reducing chronic absenteeism. We budgeted 370. We're right about that halfway point, a little less at 154,000. And that the majority of that funding has gone, or all of that has gone to staffing our additional clerks at each of our office who are overseeing our attendance as well. Any questions about goal 3? I've been using the van this week to pick up one of our foster kiddos who's in a respite placement just for this week in Gonzales, while her foster family's on vacation. And she had a visitation with her mom this morning, and she gets into my van and puts on her little high heels. And so she had brought them in her backpack. And then we're talking about that, and she says, "Oh, Summer, I really need a Frappuccino." So nice. She loves the van. Yeah, she sees it as the Frappuccino bus. So our last goal is goal number 4. Please. Oh, sorry. Yes.
I had a question, and I love Parent Square. I love like what we're doing with Centro Binacional. I'm thinking about people who how do we help parents to be engaged who don't have any literacy skills whatsoever, just didn't have access to school or didn't have access to school in either English or Spanish?
So 2 big pieces of that have been Centro, because they have relationships with a lot of our families. And the second has been the Center for Community Advocacy, who is getting out a lot of our really important information throughout our community in their different forms. So I send everything to them. Also through our Boys and Girls Club, because they do a lot of parent meeting and parent pickups. I have a meeting with them tomorrow. So everything I send also goes to them so that they can communicate to families, as well as the Salvation Army.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. Goal number 4 is around creating safe community for our students, as well as our restorative environment, with a focus on equity, anti-racism, anti-bias at the core of supporting our whole student.
Go back real quick on that.
Yes.
Okay.
The desired outcome for this is that 100% of our students attending our alternative to suspension program will be provided interventions and supports to prevent the reoccurrence. Really, the metrics around this should be focused around recidivism, how many kids come back, and as we do it for the next time, that's what that metric will be. So right now, ATS has served 33 students to date this year. That's 34% of the total suspensions district-wide. But what's important to keep in mind is that ATS currently is only serving 4th through 8th grade, right? So any 1st through 3rd graders who have been suspended didn't have access to ATS. And so it's been 50% of our students overall have attended ATS. And our goal is to increase that as well. Not to increase suspensions, but any student suspended goes to ATS. And it's important to know that Ms. Emery provides ongoing case management to all students who have attended ATS. So she's checking in, she's meeting with the student regularly, she's meeting with the teachers and the site administrators. And our recidivism rate within ATS is very, very low, less than 1%. Our next area is really that we're going to have a focus on equity and inclusion, those meetings monthly. If you remember, as part of our interconnected systems of support, what we got information, feedback from our community, our staff, as well as parents, is that they're being asked to attend a lot of meetings, and a lot of the time the information is the same. So we know that in order to build that interconnected system where when we're not talking about equity in isolation. So it's not like here's a meeting and we're going to talk about equity. It's here's curriculum and where's the equity in this curriculum? And here's safety committee and where's the equity in that safety committee? And so at the advisement of some of our partners, as well as the feedback, we've really embedded that work into what we're doing across each of these areas, because though we were doing good work, it wasn't necessarily filtering. And so you'll see there that equity and inclusion has been embedded into our district curriculum council, into our safety meetings, into our PLC, into our data use peer network, which Elva's been attending, into our DLAC, into our ELAC as well, to make sure that those principles cross our district. And we're continuing to do that work. The next area is that 100% of our staff will be provided training and professional development focused around critical self-awareness, implicit bias, relationship building, in order to enhance those anti-bias and anti-racist systems and policies that may be there. And so in our PD and D Day in August, we included PD in collaboration with Building Healthy Communities around critical consciousness and implicit bias. And all of our restorative practice leads are certified in caring classrooms, and we're doing that work at their sites as well. I keep seeing these little mistakes like that black thing. It's driving me crazy. Sorry. So can't focus on this. The next area is that 100% of teachers are going to be trained in restorative practices, and we've met this objective. 100% of our staff have been provided training and receive ongoing training through our restorative practice leads on a regular basis. Next is our California Healthy Kids Survey. We got those results in last month. 74%, part of what we saw in the results there, that 74% of our 6th through 8th graders indicated that they have not felt chronically sad or hopeless in the past 12 months, as compared to 70% in 2022. So an improvement. We want kids to not feel sad and hopeless. So the good news is our kids are overall feeling less sad. The next area also focuses around the California Healthy Kids Survey, and it was around decreasing annually regarding student depression and other mental health. 89% of our 6th through 8th grade students have not seriously considered attempting suicide in the past 12 months, and that was equivalent to the 2022 data. So no change overall.
That's a high number, but also 11% is still.
Yeah.
high.
And I'll, well, I guess this is a good place to say it. I think I shared with you that I partner with CSUMB in a collaborative there, and we met with Gavilan View today. One of the areas based on this that we want to implement for next year is universal screener. So this is an assessment that all students take looking at mental health, drug use. It's an anonymous survey in the sense that it only uses their student ID number. So the screeners who are getting the results don't initially know who the students are. And that's important, just not to dismiss something, to not say like, oh, Jacob always scores it that way, right? So you get that initial results. We're going to be the first district to pilot with CSUMB. So on February 28th or 29th, we're trying to determine the date. CSUMB's second year school psych, school social worker team will come over. We're going to implement with 6th graders only at Gavilan View. So all 6th graders will take the universal screener. What's important about having that team is that any student who during that assessment, it takes about 15 minutes, they do it on their computer. Anytime during that, any student who comes out as a tier 3, meaning that they have an immediate need, you want to have a mental health team prepared to respond. And that's one of the challenges with universal screeners, is having enough. So our goal is, in providing it and targeting the 6th grade at Gavilan View with having a team, we are going to be able to get an idea of like how many students is that really that are going to need the support, so that as we launch district-wide next year, we can be prepared to have that team. So we'll pull together all of our district folks, we'll partner with CSUMB as well as our partners at Community Human Services, so that when we launch the screener, we have a team ready for anybody who needs it. And then what happens is any of those students who are scoring at a tier 2, meaning there's some stuff going on, but it's not immediate, that forms kind of who our counselors are focusing on. Instead of waiting till something happens, it gives us preventative data to be able to respond ahead of time. And then our kiddos who are in that tier 1, tier 2, what it does is provides us with the information we need for what workshops we need, both for families and for students, right? So what are those topics that we need to get out there? And instead of guessing at them, we'll have clear data for it. So we'll be launching that. So I'll bring that back to you once we have the results, but it's really based on this. We know that there's students who have a need and we're waiting until it's a problem. We don't want to do that. The next area is around bullying, decreasing harassment and bullying. On the California Healthy Kids Survey, the anti-bullying, the teacher results, 34% marked average. The parent results, 23% reported that there's not a problem at all. 6% of elementary students responded yes to anti-bullying climate, meaning that their school in itself has a climate to decrease bullying. And middle school students, the majority of our middle school students, 60 some odd percent, noted that they feel very safe or safe at school. The next area here is classroom walkthroughs around character clubs and SEL activities. We've adopted Second Step, and the feedback has been very, very positive from our teachers who are utilizing it. I would say not everybody's utilizing it with fidelity, and we're not pushing that at this time. But the teachers who are utilizing the program have given really good feedback, and that is the majority. Over 80% of our teachers have used all those modules up to date. And then our middle schools have implemented the Thriving Thursday as well. Our counselors and social workers are leading SEL clubs, and then Community Human Services is doing the anti-bullying workshops, the student-led workshops as well. And so we're continuing to do that work, so that's in progress. Whew, we're almost at the end. So you'll see why I want to decrease those metrics. It's hard. A lot of them are repetitive. So we want to make sure that we're focused in. So when we're looking at goal 4, year to date, we've expended only 374,000 of the 69,663. And part of that is that a lot of that is budgeted as contract services that are coming towards the end of the year as we plan to move into the next year. A lot of work around our administrators with our end of the year retreats and such. Implementation of restorative practices, we budgeted 295,000. We've expended about 107,000. And that really is focused around our alternative to suspension program, the teacher who leads that, Ms. Chelsea Emery, as well as our paraprofessional in that classroom, and then some of the materials for our restorative practice leads. And then creating a positive learning community through provisions of mental health. We budgeted 957,000. We've spent 502,000, more than half. So probably we're going to have to move some money around. But this covers our counselors and social workers, as well as our health and safety supervisors at our school sites. And then our non-staffing has been our community human services, our drug, alcohol, and tobacco counselor, as well as our Care Solace, Daybreak Health, which are mental health supports for our community. Then you guys saw this last time in that budget report, so I'm not going to go through all of it. It matches what Rosa gave you in that budget report, just looking at those other funding sources overall and how funds have been expended. And then when we look at the impact, the total budgeted from our general fund, and again, this is the same budget report that you guys got last time, just broken down for our parents so that when we post that as well. And then I just want to end with some of our successes at this mid-year. We've been really successful in our PLC Plus implementation and training with our staff, our Saturday Academy. Every Saturday, I'm excited to go. My daughter's actually here visiting and asked if I would come to Sacramento on Saturday. And I was like, I have Saturday school. And she's like, Mom. So I'm trying to make a decision. No. Professional development opportunities. We had really great feedback, as Becky shared with you last time, on our last professional development with our teachers. Our alternative to suspension, I cannot thank Ms. Chelsea Emery and Danielle enough for the work that they do with our students. They go above and beyond every day. Our family engagement, our community liaisons, I think, can name every family in our district. Like, you name one little thing about a family and they can tell you everything about them. Amazing. They're amazing. Our chronic absenteeism is decreasing. Our English learner progress at McKinnon, La Jolla, and New Republic. Our English learners have improved vastly in those sites. Our ELA growth, McKinnon moved up to the yellow in ELA on the dashboard, and our suspension rate decreased to green in that area compared to last year, even though it's still up, but we're in the green. So that's good for JGMS. Our focus as we move forward in the second half of the year are those interventions and supports for English learners, especially in ELA and math, implementation of our adopted curriculum with fidelity across those classrooms, cognitive engagement. It's one of the areas that we're focused on in our classroom walkthroughs, tier 1 behavioral supports and interventions. We're wanting to make sure that our students aren't getting to that suspension and expulsion rate, really working with trauma informed schools and making sure that our teachers understand how to support our students who are coming in with trauma. It's real for us right now. Really bringing in those interconnected systems. So we're not adding more, but we're really doing the work so that everything connects, so that it's not silos of isolation, but that curriculum is connecting to behavior, is connecting to safety as well. And then our tier 3 interventions with special education classrooms, really making sure that they have a clear curriculum for ELA and math. And with that, I'll close. And if there's any questions around goal 4 or overall. Sarah.
I had two questions. One was in regards to alternatives to suspension for our TK through 3rd grade students.
Yeah.
Is it a possibility of doing things like cross-training, TOSAs at the elementary district? I mean, I'm assuming that this is not a large amount of students. So being able to, provide that kind of support for our littles that need it.
So our goal is definitely for it not to be a large amount of students, but currently it's about 50% of our suspensions. And so that's one of the areas that I know a couple of folks have brought up as part of our LCAP discussion is, do we do another alternative to suspension program to support younger students, with that also having kind of a dual purpose, because we're hoping that that number would reduce enough that you wouldn't have that many in it, so that alternative to suspension person would also really be supporting behavior interventions and supports at the elementary level. Again, that'll be an LCAP discussion, but I know that it's been brought forward.
Yeah, no. And obviously you want to put yourself out of a job, but it also, as you know, that person's going to be dealing with all kinds of behaviors that are new.
Correct.
And, have not potentially someone who's not been in school or had any mental health services.
And again, even if it's 5 students in the year and that program's available, we know the impact that it's going to have for 5 students who are not at home as,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would just absolutely be in favor of it. And then the other question that I had in terms of the screener that you're going to be piloting at GV, what age are you starting? I mean, obviously
just 6th graders right now.
Just 6th graders. And then I thought a TK is not able to figure out.
Yeah. So, they actually have it for as low as TK. It's like pictures that they can do. Our goal would be 2nd through 8th for the launch next year. And again, that's not set in stone. We're going to see how this goes with the 6th graders. It may be that next year we do just middle school initially, and then we move into elementary the following year once we've got it. I think it really depends on, I'm trying to learn from our districts who have been doing it, who are part of this collaborative, so that we don't have to make the same mistakes. But my goal, I would like to do a universal screener overall. Again, our suicide risk assessments, I presented that data before, but this year have been equally focused at our elementary level. So we know that need is there.
Yeah, no, I would be interested in seeing it, 2nd through 8th grade, or if in my work life, we implemented one last year that the teacher fills out, and I actually found it to be super helpful.
Yeah.
In terms of just, it's the kind of thing where it gave you like 7 questions per student, but depending on if the way you answer, then
Answered.
it'll give you more questions to try to dig down if it. And I think it's really helpful in terms of somebody besides the classroom teacher having, this set
Right.
of data about
Yeah.
the kid.
And this one does the same thing. Depending on their answer, it drills them down further.
It's just too bad we can't have it in lower grades. I know that my daughter is a teacher, and this year she has had 2 kids in kinder who are very depressed.
Yeah.
Real depressed.
Yeah.
And so she's trying to get sticks and stones, whatever is available. But
Yeah.
I just hope that eventually.
Yeah. And they do have a kinder version. So it may be, again, we just want to make sure we're not going too fast to be able to provide the support. So I think once we kind of get it down at one level, then we'll be ready to drill down further. Yeah, I agree.
That's the challenge, right? Is you have the data who needs support, but now you have to get them support.
Right. So that's what we want to make sure of, is that we never want to launch something like a universal screener and then not be prepared to respond. And so that's why we will do it really strategically, kind of site by site, and bring a full team. That full team will be there. They'll be available so that they can respond and react in that time. Yeah. And in talking to other districts who have done it, several South County districts, they saw about 6% of their students at a tier 3 when they did the initial assessment. So, kind of thinking about what that number would be for us as well per site.
And I guess the other part of it too is that I think you don't want, if you don't have the services to provide them, but at the same time, I wonder how that helps with funding in the future, just to know like,
Right.
there's that need, but there's a
Correct.
balancing act, because if you know,
Yeah. Well, and right now, I'm not concerned we don't have you guys have done a really good job about allowing us to bring in a lot of mental health support. People are jealous all the time of what we have. I think it's about utilizing it effectively, right? So right now, I think we have the support. Well, there's never enough support, so I shouldn't say that, but we have a high level of support, but we're using it to put out the fire. And what we want to do is use it to prevent the fire to begin with. And so it'll be a transition at first because it's going to be a lot of work up front. But in the long run, we're going to be preventing issues instead of responding to them. So I think we're going to be okay based on my experience, especially now with our district social worker added to that as well, and our community human services partnership. But yeah, I think we're going to be okay. I see it more as a prevention, just kind of moving our focus.
and it should, I think, kind of like we mentioned about engagement, we should also translate into the academics
Absolutely.
as well.
Right. And so that's the really, again, going back to that other piece around interventions, that's really important, is that, in this LCAP, there's these silos of things, right? So we're looking at goal 1 and we're looking at goal 2 and we're looking at goal 3. In reality, what we want to be doing is mapping that. You should be able to measure student academic success in how many students are feeling confident and happy and secure in school, right? So if we're looking at mental health measures, there should be a connection to what's happening academically and vice versa. So I know that our goal in the upcoming LCAP is to really make sure that that's woven throughout all of it.
And I know Dr. Armin mentioned as far as they're changing the way LCAPs are done.
Yeah, so there's a new template this year and kind of a new process. So I've been attending the county office trainings around that and getting prepared. And so I think, again, that's why it's a really good opportunity, not only because it's a new 3-year cycle, but kind of this new setup of it to start fresh. One of the big pieces, well, 2 big pieces of that is that any goal area or action area in which we did not show measurable progress, we cannot continue that on to our next LCAP. So if we had an action, for example, around all students will engage in underwater basket weaving, and all students did not engage in underwater basket weaving by the end of our year, we can't continue that exact goal. So we can do a new goal that says, all staff will be trained to provide quality instruction in underwater basket weaving, right? So that we know we can build that up, but we cannot just continue the goal. And before you could, so you were there. The other part is that any subgroup or school that's in the red on the dashboard, so if you're looking at the dashboard and they're in the red area, we have to write a specific goal and or a specific action related to that. What that means is that, for example, Santa Rita Elementary has several students in those subgroups who are in the red in several areas. They're going to have directly for Santa Rita Elementary more actions within the LCAP. Because what the state has said is you have to address that identified need. So whereas before we could kind of look at a district as a whole and say, here's those areas, we now have to have very specific actions related to those. So that's part of why I'm bringing those teams together to really look at that so that it's not a surprise to anybody that's there.
Any other questions?
And more of a comment just in terms of, I think the way they're going, other districts were already experiencing that more than us because our population looks fairly similar across the district versus if you looked at like Santa Cruz City schools, for instance, they already had very different programs at different schools because they had really different demographics across the districts. But now I think based on outcomes, it's completely reasonable to me that they would say like, hey, we need specific goals based on what's happening at different schools.
For sure.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, next item is item 13.2, expanding learning opportunities program plan.
I don't know why I thought about doing these on the same night. Okay, so I provided you a copy of the grant application in there. The big piece of this, I'm not going to go through all of it with you, partially because the way that they did it makes it really challenging. I didn't print it for you because the text boxes don't expand on theirs and you can't make them expand. So they don't want me to do that, I guess. But what's really important about this grant is that if you've seen the ACES grant, it looks very similar. The difference for this is that we don't have to apply for it. It's called a grant, but we automatically get the money and have a requirement to work towards expending it. So it's not something that we're kind of given that we have to apply for the state. Keep in mind that this is that requirement that you've heard about around a 9-hour school day. So this, in order to expend these funds, they can only be expended if you're creating a 9-hour day. What's important about that is like right now, our Saturday Academy is not 9 hours. Therefore, it does not qualify under ELOP. If we want to use ELOP funds for Saturday Academy, we have to extend Saturday to 9 hours. There's lots of flexibility in how that it is. It is not required for it to be certificated staff providing that. It doesn't have to be just academic intervention. North Monterey County, for example, has a program that starts at 6 a.m. in the morning and goes till 8, providing morning care and support for students. And then it continues again after school for them. And that it far exceeds the 9 hours of that school day for our students, but it's really looking at those. So that'll be a big piece of the work that the new coordinator position will do, is doing that collaboration with community organizations, Boys and Girls Club, Arts Council, after school sports. We want to make sure that it's as balanced in enrichment as it is in academic intervention, as well as that opportunity for acceleration. So we know that many of our students are doing really well all day, and then we need to give them that opportunity to advance. So this is where projects that we can really focus on our students who have specific talents can be brought into that. But keeping in mind, it has to be 9 hours. So one of our goals you'll see within there is to provide a before school option that would start at 7 a.m. and provide some before school support for students, and then an after school option that would then expand that day for them as well. And then this draft does not require details at this point. It's kind of a general overview. So that really is great because it gives that coordinator that opportunity to work and create that plan, the details of that plan. But it would be at all of our sites. It needs to be offered across sites. One other important piece of this is that some of the existing programs, for example, Boys and Girls Club, Kids Cafe, the YMCA, we can utilize these funds, to support our students in attending. So funding the YMCA program. Part of what we can do with the Boys and Girls Club, because that does extend to 9 hours, we have to provide the transportation. So transportation to and from. So right now, Boys and Girls Club picks kiddos up, but they don't bring them back. So in order for it to qualify under ELOP, it has to be a two-way transportation. Kids Cafe, same thing. There's a small fee that's associated. We could fund that. And there's pieces that go along with that. So we can utilize some of the partnerships that we already have.
So is there local districts that are currently?
All districts are required to implement ELOP.
Okay, so this is new.
So the funding started last year, but districts are all just kind of trying to figure out
Sure,
how
that's
to
my question.
expand that 9 hours. Yeah. So because staffing is a challenge, because community partnerships are a challenge. So some districts who kind of were able to have staff and be prepared have begun. Lots of people just trying to figure out exactly how to expend those
It's a
funds.
lot.
It's a lot of money. And now what happens is
Well, I'm saying it's a lot also to do.
right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So that's where that conversation
Sure.
came about.
Yeah.
Because at first I was like, I can do it. And then I was like, I can't do it. I can't do it.
Because this all sounds awesome.
It
for
is.
you to implement. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it's really important, again, to our staff, like we're going to be looking to you, like this is a great opportunity for you as well, before school, after school learning opportunities. And again, as well as some of those community partners that are coming in. What I wanted to add is that what's important about this grant, I don't like the word grant because it's not really a grant. Well, I guess it is a grant, but you don't apply it. Yeah. This funding is that it works kind of in a penalty model. So let's say that you don't do the full 9 hours. You don't necessarily lose all the funding. There's a penalty associated with it. You're required to have 30 additional instructional days outside of your regular school year. Those could be Saturdays, those could be intersessions, those could be summer. Let's say you do 22 days, there's a penalty. You don't lose all of those fundings. If you don't, so there's pieces to it. So, what we want to do is have it available. As long as you're offering and you have it available and it's there, you receive the funds, right? So you want to recruit 100 students. This isn't going to happen, but let's say 2 students show up. You're getting the same funding. It's not based on the number of students that are there.
Yeah. The challenge is just setting up.
The challenge is getting it set up and offering.
Yeah. Okay, makes sense.
But yeah, just Jacob, where I work, they've already begun to implement this. And so they have programs there from 6 in the morning until 6 at night. And again, staffing's an issue, but it's great in terms of, yes, they've brought in outside dance teachers, outside art teachers, just I think, for working parents to know that my child is in a safe place, that they're being taken care of, and something positive and exciting, is happening with them is really helpful.
And I think what's important about that, Sarah, is unlike ACEs, where ACEs is a requirement of the time frame, like students are not supposed to be early released from ACEs. They have to stay till 6 p.m. With ELOP, there's not that requirement. So you have to offer it, right? You have to offer those 9 hours. But let's say we offer a program that goes till 5 and a parent wants to pick up at 4. They can still pick up at 4. There doesn't need to be that early release piece of it. It's just that it's available to them. And I think that's a little more enticing. Sometimes families don't necessarily want their child in extended care until 6 p.m.
You have to keep
But
them
they
here because they're
do,
funded.
right. But they do want them till 3:30 or 4. And so this will provide that opportunity. But if they're late, they can stay till 6.
And I know this is not something we'll figure out now, but I know with the governor's budget, how does this get impacted?
So it was funded. So I watched that today. I was texting Melissa, I was there, and then I watched the budget, and then I got the summary, and then I watched the AXA update at lunch, the lunch AXA update, which is funny because they filmed it from the Every Child Counts symposium, because all of AXA's Every Child Counts, which is where Melanie's at. So it was fully funded within the governor's budget. Mhm.
Okay. So can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve 13.2.
Second,
Okay, roll call, please.
Ms. Turner,
Aye.
Ms. Ariano,
aye.
Mr. Sandoval.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
Now we move on to 14.1.
Yes.
So discussion regarding MCSBA Excellence in Education Award.
Yes. So they sent us their final list of possible nominees for the 2024 Excellence in Education Award, and they're asking boards to designate their top 3 nominees with number 1 in a ranking order. So rank them at your first choice, second choice, and third choice of the board.
You guys have any preferences on? I think for me, to throw one out there, Centro de Universidad.
Yeah.
You guys are okay with number 1?
That was good.
Unless you have somebody else you want to
I-
advocate for?
I don't have another thing to advocate for. I think it's definitely worth putting out there, having been present for this process many times. Something that's going to be, whatever's going to win is something that the most districts have had exposure with. So we'll just see what happens.
Okay, so them and then anybody else you guys want to put?
Is it a 1, 2, 3?
Yes, 1, 2, 3, yeah. So we'll put them 1. And then who do you guys
Okay.
think for number 2 or 3?
Is the Center for Community Advocacy on there?
No, no. That would be the name of it? Huh?
Yeah, it would be the Center for Community Advocacy.
Um,
They do
I,
an amazing student voice program, but
Yeah.
I would say the Monterey County Rape Crisis Center, just in
They're not- are they
terms
on
of the,
Are they on there?
they do really excellent work with abuse prevention.
Yeah. Neil would be.
Yes, they are.
that.
they're on there.
Okay. And you guys have a third one?
The third one that I would want, I
Sure.
don't know about anybody else, is the trafficking.
Mm.
Only because,
They did not add them to the list.
Oh,
I
they
had
didn't?
sent
I thought
them
they
as
were.
one of your,
I
as
saw
one of
them.
your,
I thought
did
I
you?
saw
I
them.
saw them out there,
didn't.
yeah.
I
It's on
missed
the
them.
page
It's,
8, I think.
yeah, page
maybe
8,
I
the Monterey
just
County
missed
Human
it.
Trafficking Task Force.
Excellent. Okay.
and the only reason,
Yes.
well, I just know that it's just been at my daughter's school, the 6th grader.
Yeah.
Couple of 6th graders have been kidnapped, I guess you could say. But it was, I'm delighted with the Salinas PD that really got it. But, they're just taking kids, girls,
In particular.
and that's in our own community.
Yep.
So,
I realized they had sent the revised list, which is what I shared out, and I realized they added that at the end because the initial one, they hadn't had it on. Okay, so I have down for our 3 Centro, the Rape Crisis Center, and then the Monterey County Trafficking Center.
mhm.
Great.
Thank you for doing that.
Okay, so 15.1, our next regular board meeting will actually be at the Santa Rita Elementary School. So that's exciting. We'll be either, you said they're going to test out the equipment.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Probably a
Okay.
resource center.
Okay. All right, so we'll see everybody there January 24th. And then we do have a board workshop the 27th, 27th. yeah. Any suggested future board items that has not been discussed before or want to get reminded on? No. Okay, I'm good as well. Okay, it is 7:58, right before 8, please. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
A motion to adjourn.
Second,
Okay, roll call.
Ms. Turner,
Aye.
Ms. Ariano,
hi.
Mr. Sandoval.
Aye.
Motion passes 3-0.
Okay, have a nice evening, everyone.